朝焼けの光の中に立つ影はミラーマン。鏡の世界を通り抜け。今だ、キックを使え。目だ。ミラーナイフが宙を切る。戦え僕らのミラーマン。夕焼けの光の中に立つ影はミラーマン。燃える炎を走り抜け。今だ、パンチのチャンス。腹だ。ミラーリングが宙を切る。戦え僕らのミラーマン。
Hello, you are listening to I don't fucking know. I don't have a name for this podcast. I'm joined by Mel. I'm Red, by the way. I'm joined by Mel.
You know, if I was making music for a TV show, any TV show, I don't know if I'd make, like, the most annoying shrill whine an integral part of the theme song.
Wouldn't you? I mean, it's like you gotta wake people up. Maybe you gotta like bother them, make sure that it's like the paranoia agent opening. Except that's good.
And inevitably, that song will play right before you hear us talking, so you'll know what we're talking about, people.
Yeah. Also joined by Brad. Hello.
Hello. This show taught me that there is a hard age where it is no longer okay to lie to people about their family, but up until that point,
it's fair game, baby.
Yeah.
Any lie you want. And then it's like to the fucking minute, to the second, you get to that right age, and it's suddenly like, we got to tell you about your dad.
Happy birthday. we brought some.
Well, I guess we can get into it later, but they did state, you know, men don't really start thinking about their dads in complicated ways until like their late 20s, and I went, okay.
Freud disagrees.
I had some strong feelings about that one. Anyways.
So yeah, we watched the first 12 episodes of Mirrorman, a TsuPro show that aired mostly concurrently with Return of Ultraman. I say that. I think Return of Ultraman, I did see the dates. I think Mirrorman aired during like a fairly recent episode of Return of Ultraman that we covered.
Yeah, I'll get into that when we talk about, because I got production note stuff, but you know.
Oh, yeah, naturally.
As I do. But yeah, for context, I think we talked about on and off for like the past year, like how we're going to do this, because we're like, oh hey, this is a relevant thing that we weren't sure how to feed.
You the guardian of the Toku. Of the Ultra, you had mentioned that this was kind of like, there are a couple of things that aren't Ultraman but are important to Ultraman.
Yeah.
And this was one of them.
Yeah, I think we considered like different options. Like, I think you both shot down pretty quickly doing a standalone season between Return and Ace, which I think it makes sense in hindsight. Especially because there's like, we're still only a year into this podcast, and it's like, you know, we've got momentum. And then we considered doing a backup with Ace, but that'd be like
a lot of fucking TV per week.
Yeah, we all
watch like 4 episodes per week, and then Ace would take like 6 months to finish instead of like 4.
Yeah, and then we all collectively decided that was the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, and also it was not. Also, but when we made that decision, we also hadn't done Skipping the Queue, and then that would also mean there'd be overlap between doing 4 episodes a week and also watching next year's Ultraman. So,
is that still up in the air whether or not we will be allowed to watch that one though too?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Like, the track record's been really good
in terms of like newcomer accessibility. Okay.
Oh, I mean, I guess it's up in the air because we don't know what the show's about.
Yeah, like that's what I meant more so, is like, we don't know if it's like a sequel to something we haven't watched yet.
We only have the name. We don't know shit about the show. So we'll find out in coming months. It might be that we have to...
You'll keep an eye on it, and if we get bad news from you as like, well, we're not watching that show, then that's what happens.
Yeah, it's like, oh damn, this guy is the fucking second nephew of Ultraman Cosmos. It's like, oh no.
Of course, you will be watching that show.
I'll be watching that show. I won't talk about it.
Regardless. Yes.
I'll die if that happens. But anyway, yeah. We'll figure out what we do in the case Arc is like a legacy show for some reason. But hopefully not. But more importantly, we're talking about Mirrorman right now.
We are talking about Mirrorman right now. Tell us about Mirrorman. What's the deal? What is the deal with Mirrorman?
So,
my voice broke a little there because it was a Seinfeld bit. It wasn't actually because my voice broke. Don't worry. Anyway.
Yeah. So, very original character. He's like a guy. He turns into a silver man who grows big.
Novel.
I had some qualms about this, but carry on.
Yeah, so it's worth noting this is the first non-Ultra series Kyodai Hero show by Tsuburaya. Kyodai Hero being like the subgenre of Togu superhero shows where they go big. Because of course, Ultraman has a lot of imitators, especially in this era. Mm-hmm. And it's considered as, part of like the initial start of the second kaiju boom, along with the return of Ultraman. I've seen a quote tossed around. I don't know who said it, but it's like, well, if Ultraman is the sun, then Mirrorman is the moon.
Okay.
Which I guess like reflects a bit some of like the thematic tonal differences between the franchise, I guess you could say.
It reflects it, does it?
Yeah. Apparently, the basic original rough draft was like... It was really weird how the Japanese wiki said it. It was like... It was an idea that was left behind by Tetsuo Kinjo as a memento, because it was 1969 and he was heading back to Okinawa. And I'm like, well, cool, I guess sometimes when you're a writer, your going away gift is like, here's an idea you can pitch. Which is like, what? Fair.
I feel like that's also a thing that would never fucking happen now. Like things have gotten so complicated, but back in the day they're like, hey, you can make this maybe, and they're like, yeah, sure.
Back in the day when you could be an ideas guy, that was a real job.
Yeah. Don't tell that to the Silicon Valley guys though.
No, never.
Anyway, Shigemitsu Taguchi and Kazuo Mitsuda took the idea and fleshed it out. And so they're like, well, we want to shop it around. In the meantime, they started a manga. There's a manga published starting immediately 1969. There was a Mirrorman manga published that year, and then they were trying to pitch around. Tsuburaya was trying to pitch around the show, and it took them like 2 years to do it, or 3 years, I guess, because it didn't happen until 1971, when Fuji TV, a different TV than TPS. Which is the home of Ultraman at the moment. Fuji TV had to prematurely cancel an adaptation of Pippi Longstockings because they didn't actually get the rights to Pippi Longstockings from the creator.
I hate when that happens.
Which is really funny. And so they needed something fast. They're like, well, Tsuburaya's been pitching around Mirrorman. Maybe let's just grab it. And so they did. And they got... In September of 1971, they shook hands with Tsuburaya. And, Mitsuda got to work on the setting. He used some ideas from an unmade project called Fight, Ultra 7, which I guess would have been like a hypothetical sequel to Ultra 7 that never got taken off the ground. And he put that into like... He worked those ideas into Mirrorman in order to like flesh out the show. Which I think, maybe you can tell just a bit. Just a bit when watching. Also, apparently some of Mirrorman's moves also maybe a bit of Ultra 7 inspiration as well.
Really? Damn.
Yeah.
I could not have spotted when the show decided to just steal Ultra 7 stuff.
They produced a pilot which is not subbed, but I did watch it, and I'll get into a brief summary of it later. But I'll put it in the description, and also I'll let you give it to you guys to skim through for now. It's very different from what it actually be, and maybe presumably a bit closer to what the manga was. Not that I know. But yeah, I'll get more into details of that weird thing. Tsupraya's goal was to make this a grittier drama than Return of Ultraman, to distinguish it, because, Return of Ultraman was on the air. They wanted to focus on the inner conflict of the show, and they wanted to focus of the inner conflict of the show's hero, Kyotaro, as he deals with doubts of his lineage, as well as emphasize the eeriness of the invaders, the show's antagonists. The story they pitched was one centered on a team of scientists led by a professor.
Stop me if you've heard this before.
Yeah. The difference being, rather than, a more military team, they were like, well, they don't want to give them many weapons, except for, some guns. They want to have, more of a civilian-style team.
This
they
guy's
also
got
had,
Ichino Tani's number.
They also had Kyotaro be more, involved, but not a full-fledged member, because it felt like, well, if he's just, another member of the team, it's just, again, another Ultraman ripoff. A little too much. And they also felt like, well, if the protagonist isn't a member of the team, he doesn't have to be in uniform, which means people can actually tell him apart from the other guys easier.
True.
Tsuburaya Productions had also scouted special effects director Yoshiyuki Kuroda from film studio Daiei for the show. Kuroda was invited by Hajime, who had seen 1966 Daimajin, which was, he was involved in. And he was always like, damn, this guy's shit rules, we gotta get him. Just as an aside, apparently Daimajin Trilogy were all filmed contemporaneously within the same year by the same crew, but with different directors, and then they were released within months of each other in the same year. Which is wild.
Nice.
Yeah. Apparently also, Eiji Tsuburaya, who's dead by now, had long held a dream of inviting Kuroda to Tsuburaya Productions to work on an adaptation of Tale of the Bamboo Cutter, which is, The Legend of Kaguya, etc.
Yeah.
Eiji was like, damn, I really want to do this with this guy specifically, and that never happened. Apparently in 1973, Kuroda would try to bring that dream, his late dream a reality, but then Hajime died, and so that didn't happen either.
Jesus Christ.
Rip.
Yeah.
Old people having dreams.
I don't even know how old Hajime was when he died, but yeah.
Well,
He was young. He was very young.
Chain smoking, hard working, heavy drinking people be having dreams.
Yeah. Anyway, as far as stylistic influences, they took a bunch of Western works, as Super Productions is wont to do. Some of these works include the French film Orpheus, released in 1950, and directed by Jean Cocteau. I have no idea if I pronounced that correctly. The novel The Stolen City by Jack Finney, which is also called The Body Snatchers. And then The Invaders, a 1967 American series created by Larry Cohen. And then the show Mirrorman itself premiered December 5th, 1971, 2 days after Return of Ultraman 35.
Which one is episode 35?
The Cool Crystal.
Sick.
Yeah. Just a side note, I did notice that means that, Return of Ultraman was a Friday night show and Mirrorman was a Sunday night show. I don't know what that means, particularly, but it's just, just neat observation. The show premiered with high ratings. However, the show's tone meant that viewership would go down over time.
That's depressing.
That's depressing because the tone is good. The tone is why I like the show.
I was about to say, one would argue the tone is why I'm super here for this show, actually.
Not helped. Not helping the viewership ratings. You may have noticed that there's some recycling of some kaiju, which was planned. There was planned in advance because they knew they foresaw budget issues. But that's obviously.
Here's the thing. No, I'll get into it later because I'll make sure. Yeah, I have a request for this show through time that they will not be able to hear.
Yeah. Also, initially at the start, there was a rivalry with the show Silver Mask, which was already on air when Mirrorman premiered. It was created by Subaru alumni such as Akira Soji, though it was not a Subaru production. It was also apparently like another. Just quickly reading the premise of Silver Mask, it did appear like it was another like attempt at a more serious style show, specifically trying to differentiate itself from Ultraman, which I think is interesting.
See, Silver Mask has come up so many times doing production stuff that I was always under the impression that was also another Subaraya thing. So to learn that it actually wasn't, actually is blowing my mind a little bit.
Yeah, I'm really curious about it now, so I'm making a note of it for the future. And so there was apparently like initially a competition for ratings, because they're also in a competing time slot. I will say that apparently Silver Mask got retooled 11 episodes in and got cancelled 26 episodes in, so before Mirrorman finished. So, I guess we know who won.
Yeah. Well, remember, Jisoji and that one other guy bonded over the fact that they both were in charge of that show, and they both fucking failed to get anyone to watch it.
Yeah. Might be fun to watch it one day, but I don't even know.
I don't know if it's subbed.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Many such cases. Hey, if you're listening to this and can do fan subs, wink wink. Do the Ultraman stuff first, though. Anyway, I will not do a complete production history because I'll save some for future installments. But anyway, I'll conclude by saying that in April 1972, the second kaiju boom would be heating up, and other rival shows would be on the air, meaning there would be a shakeup of the market, and some of the staff would reconsider what the show's strengths are and what they would need to focus on. But that's a story for another day. Ellipsis. And I'll just go quickly over the characters. We got our protagonist, Kyotaro Kagami. Translation note, that means mirror. He's played by Nobuyuki Ishida, and he was chosen because he had like a young, naive image, and they thought girls would find him attractive.
Naturally.
He does look young and naive, and I'm sure people would find him attractive.
Yeah, mission accomplished. Then we have Kenichi Mitarari, who's a professor, played by Junya Usami. Then we got Hiroshi Murakami, who's the captain.
Chief?
Yeah, the chief, the captain of this team. The chief, even though
I never wrote his name. I just call him Chief.
Yeah, the chief, even though he's obviously second in command to the professor. Played by Shinya Wazaki. Then you have Takeshi Fujimoto, who's the vice captain, played by Kentaro Kudo.
This is my guy.
Some may say he is the guy.
He's the guy.
Then we have Hidehiko Yasuda, the guy with the glasses, played by Hajime.
Oh wow, him?
Yeah,
nostalgia critic.
Played by Hajime Sugiyama. Thank you for your service, staying at the base so the woman in the show can actually do something.
Yes.
Speaking of which, Yuki Nomura is said woman. She's played by Yoko Ichiji. We also have the professor's daughter, Azuko Mitarari, played by Takako Sawai. And then, not actually in the show as much, but I guess he was in enough of these episodes I should mention him. There's Ichio Okawa, who's some kid, played by Tadayoshi Kura.
All right. Shall I give a quick breakdown on what this show is about?
Do you want me to do the pilot first?
Oh, yeah, sure, go for it.
Yeah. So pilot's like 10 minutes. I don't know if you skimmed through it yet. There's a different design for Mirrorman where he has like a open face mask.
I'm just gonna quickly...
It's very much a pilot where it's like, oh, this is a show, there's action, there's suspense. Here's some scenes of Mirrorman punching some Americans in the docks.
I'm gonna tell you, the scenes where he's just punching guys on the street, best scenes in the show.
Yeah.
As he got further in the pilot, it seems that Kyotaro might be a priest, ? And he has a friend who is 12 years old and a girl. He feels like he has a bit of a bad boy vibe, and he talks to mother in his head. The pilot definitely uses Return of Ultraman OST, which makes sense. There's a hitman snipes a guy, and then Kyotaro chases after him. The hitman crashes into a building and explodes. Kyotaro gets introduced to the SGM. Professor is here, as well as Fujimoto and Yuki's actor.
He's got the fucking high school kid uniform on.
Yeah.
They're trying to pass this guy off as a fucking 16-year-old.
Yeah. Worth noting that of these, Professor Fujimoto and Yuki, those are the only actors that are the same there on the show, because Kyotaro is played as a different actor in this pilot for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Professor is the only one who has the same name as Fujimoto, and Yuki's actors are different name characters. Also, this one, there's just a guy who shows up who's like, hey, Kyotaro, let me introduce you to the SGM, who we've never met before, unlike this show where there's a pre-existing relationship. Then a helicopter shows up and shoots the Professor, and they all, hide at a wall. Kyotaro looks in the mirror and transforms, and he monologues to himself as the place around him burns at the end. Yeah, I obviously don't get everything that happened, because, it's unsubbed, but just broad strokes. That's the pilot. It was really bizarre watching this and going well, the show is not like this at all.
No.
Yeah, sometimes pilots are like that.
Yeah, I did just see the fucking blood splatter hit the windscreen as this guy got shot in the head. All right, well, that's the pilot. Shall I tell you about the real show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not do any summaries for this because we're just talking about 12 episodes. So this is about, jump in if I say something wrong or anything happens, because I don't really know how we're going to cover this show. So we'll wing it. This show is about Kagami Kyotaro. He is a photographer. He's kind of amateur. Oh no, he's not amateur. He works for a newspaper or whatever. He's Yuriko.
Yeah. What if Jun and Yuriko were one person, except he's way more naive than Jun.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Ippei was
doesn't have Jun
dead in a back alley somewhere.
Maybe he's more like Ippei and Yuriko as one person. I don't know. This is falling apart really quickly, actually.
This is falling apart. Anyway, much
So,
like
imagine the Ultra Q cast as a hamburger.
Yeah. He is he knows people in the SGM. He's allowed into their super secret base or whatever.
Well, to be clear, he knows them because the head of the SGM is his old professor guy who's his adopted dad.
Yes.
And also the SGM just lives in his basement.
Yes. And they are combating the invaders, who are these secret aliens who come in the form of human beings, and they all have glowy green eyes, so they have to wear sunglasses. And
specifically come from the second dimension?
I think they said the fourth dimension. Actually, no.
The fourth dimension, or the universe of darkness, the dark universe. One of the two.
Featuring Tom Cruise.
But this is Kagami. At some point, he photographs an alien, in the ruins of a building after a UFO has wrecked it. He photographs an invader, and also he kind of awakens to some powers. He awakens to some powers at some point, and he can use it. Now, this is a critical function of this show. Use it by seeing his reflection. He can transform into Mirrorman. And I believe he is either... The show doesn't really make up his mind on this all the time, I don't think. He is either using it to turn into Mirrorman, or he's turning into Mirrorman within the mirrored world.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure by myself what the split between the mirrored world and the real world is.
Yeah.
There's definitely some scenes which are very obviously this is a mirror world, but otherwise, something that just seems like he's just out and about.
They haven't fully made up their mind, really. They kind of just have it both ways.
Yeah.
And Kagami basically, he doesn't sign up with the SGM, but the professor, the old dude, explains to him that, well, your dad was, from the fourth dimension. So you're half them and you're half us. And, you can transform into Mirrorman and you can help fight for Earth. But, we're going to keep that a secret from everyone else in SGM. That's between you and me. And so, yeah, we have a weekly adventure where there's some fucked up shit going on with invaders trying to conquer the Earth. And the SGM are combating it. And Kagami's just kind of hanging out, helping. And then when the time comes, and they get inventive with this. He uses his reflection to transform, and then he fights a kaiju. That's the basic gist of the show so far. The crucial thing about Mirrorman is that this is some proper kind of more dark tone alien invasion stuff.
Yeah.
With lots of investigation, lots of emphasis on the stuff leading up to the kaiju fight.
Yeah, I think that's where the SGM being a more civilian, quote unquote, defense team is interesting, because they're more like a detective agency than a guys who fly jets and do bombings.
Mm-hmm. There is a quote that the chief makes the argument for this at the end of episode 11. Because he has this whole thing, this arc, this Die Hard arc, where he used to be a cop, and then it's like his gun got stolen from him by an invader, and then his partner was shot, and so he doesn't like to use guns anymore, despite being an expert marksman, and they want to give him a soul gun.
He was demoted to enforcer.
He was and then he was demoted to enforcer. And then he gets to use the gun at the end of the episode, and then he hands it back in at the very end of the episode, and he's like, the weapon for SGM is our brains. And I'm like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
We'll beat them
See,
with science.
I was so happy they leaned into that, because the part of these shows where the defense team is out investigating shit is the part I like way more than when they're doing pew-pew with the laser guns.
Yeah, I like the investigation stuff. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me curious, just how Operation Mystery is, because presumably that's a show about detectives investigating supernatural shit. Yeah, so I'm curious, because I feel like it's an important part of the lineage that we just don't have the piece for right at the moment.
I honestly kind of wish that they framed them, because it's very obvious they are still close enough to that defense team structure, at least in terms of how they're presented and stuff, that they absolutely read that way, and you can tell this is continuing from that Ultraman and Ultra 7 lineage or whatever. I wish a little bit that they moved a bit more away from that than they end up doing, but episode to episode, I find that when they're outside of the lab, they read very different because they're not militarized.
Yeah, they're we have to go roll out and investigate, and they don't get into the plane or even the shiny
or flying cars.
They just get the professor's sedan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're out doing car chases in actual cars, and they open up the fucking door and hang out the side and then start yelling to their friends, and it's oh, okay, yeah, this is just literally, like you said, it feels like a bunch of people in a dude's basement who maybe had too much for a passion project.
It's okay, the UN is also funding this passion project, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an important note. Their central HQ is in Paris. Paris has returned.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
I made a note of this immediately. I was like, Paris?
Yeah, maybe Kato should have gone to Paris.
Maybe Kato should have gone to Paris instead
of
the
space
station.
Is.
He went to the space station, and he might have died.
Schrodinger's captain.
Schrodinger's captain. RIP. But maybe not.
See, if he never shows up again, that's what I'm going to assume happened. It gives me closure.
None of them mention it. None of the team mention it at all.
Ibuki's their dad now.
Yeah, old dad left. He's not the stepdad. He's the dad who stepped up.
So
see, that's the difference. I would say that's the difference between Ultraman and Mirrorman, actually. Ultraman is about the dad who stepped up. Mirrorman is very interested in the dad who stepped down and away.
Yes, so... Kagami... Now, so... I made a note of this because there were like 3 or 4 episodes in a row where I was like, they're keeping up this run of men letting down their families. And this whole show is...
Hiruma?
Yes, this show is centered. God, yes. He's the hero now. This is the difference between. Yes, we found the difference between Ultraman and Mirrorman. Ultraman thinks that these guys are cool. But yes, Mirrorman is broadly about Kagami being like kind of hung up on the fact his mum's missing and his dad's just fucking gone because he died in the fight for Earth. He got tricked into staying in the mirror world too long or something.
Notably, his father was the former Mirrorman. He inherited the title of Mirrorman from his dad.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's like has complicated feelings towards his mom. He's feeling like, damn, why did she have to why'd she have to go after that alien dick? Why couldn't she have just gone after a normal human?
It's yeah, he's like he's going through it a little bit. And then there's like a run of episodes here where I make a note. I'm like episode 4 I didn't make a note of exactly what episode 4 was to do with.
Let me just check. I took notes, which is a bit excessive, but also episode 4 is Terror of the Cobalt 60.
Oh yes, this is the guy who there's a guy in episode 4 who like gets involved in that hit and run, and his fiance is in the passenger seat, and she's like, we're not running away, we should stay and help and like do something. And the guy's like, no, we're gonna get out of here. It turns out that they hit an alien. When he finds out that he hit an alien instead of a human being in his car, he's just like, oh that's all right then. Because he's a fucking scumbag. At the end of this episode, she like fucking breaks up with him. Episode 5, I made a note 2 episodes in a row about women being failed by men. There's the woman who her boyfriend or something leaves her to her fate while they're getting attacked by a kaiju.
He immediately dies.
He immediately dies. Episode 6, dad episode, about a man failing his wife and son because he left and is supposed to have died when the kid was 2. There's a kid hanging around Kagami. I can't remember the kid's name.
Yeah, I have the name.
Ichiro.
But,
Ichiro.
Yeah, Ichiro.
And he thinks his dad died when he was 2. His dad did not die. His dad's still around, and he still watches Ichiro sometimes from a distance. But he doesn't introduce himself to Ichiro or anything. He's just like, well, no, he can't know that I'm alive because he'll know that I'm pathetic and weak.
And specifically, he believes his dad died as like the heroic captain of a ship who went down with the vessel to save his men's life. Like, it's not just that he's dead, too.
Yeah.
It's that he died a hero.
He got a cool story out of me, and now I can't be in his life anymore. So, he can't know that I'm a pathetic man who abandoned his family. And I'm like, damn, we're honed in on men being shitty. And then episode 7, the body snatching episode where the guy gets possessed, and incredible scene where he slaps his fiance, and just like, everyone around them, like, feeling the shock, and then like there's that the people, like a nurse with a patient in a wheelchair or something, and they just like take note briefly and then just like and just move on and just like get on with their day. And yeah, this show's good. This show's pretty good. But yes, that was kind of, I was like, oh, I see this show is all in on men being shitty, and then they kind of dropped that for a while. I can't wait for it to return.
Same. I also, this show hits such a weird, interesting, brilliant formula where you have we introduced some people for this episode. You learned a little bit about their fucked up lives and their personal foibles, and it takes a much more bleak and cynical perspective on these matters than, say, Ultraman would, which I found very refreshing. But then on the opposite side, we have, instead of a more episodic monster of the week, which, I mean, the show kind of is a little bit, we'll get into that a bit later when we talk about the actual, like, when it goes hard on the tokusatsu stuff. But the foil to this is that the other side of the episode is you see some ominous men in dark clothing and sunglasses doing some, like, alien infiltration of society invasion bullshit. Mel, when you said that this show was done by Kazuho Mitsuda, I was not surprised because, you know, obviously he was the boss tank guy all the way back in Ultra Q. This is always his thing. So, yeah. But it's kind of refreshing and neat having, like, an umbrella, like, unified antagonist.
Yeah.
Compared to what we've been watching. And listen, we all love a big, like, dumb monster on a set breaking shit, or, like, in, like, a weird little, like, stage where they make it up to look like a valley and there's some water off to the side, whatever, like, they splash around. That's all good fun. But you get some people who can turn, like, two-dimensional and walk through walls and go invisible, terrorizing a people in small, like, closed off dark spaces and, like, shoving them out of apartment buildings, or possessing professional snipers' bodies and starting hitting people off.
That was cool.
You get some good goddamn TV.
It's so good. Everything right. This is kind of my thing about the show. Is I get that they have to do the kaiju stuff. I get that this is what the show is. However, what if they just didn't? What if they did not have him transform at the end of the episode? What if it was just, because, you know, like, I am not really paying, like, I did not notice the first couple of times they reused a kaiju because I wasn't particularly interested.
Same.
I am glued to my screen when Kagami gets ambushed by guys in suits and he kicks the shit out of them.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I do like how, like, these guys actually fight and throw hands.
Yes.
Like, they don't have guns. They just, like, fucking martial arts the shit out.
It's absolutely just some fucking
the scene
shit.
In, like, I think it was episode 11. That's the one with the chief with the gun, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where they get, like, the suitcase, and then Fujimoto or Murakami are just, like, lobbing the case back and forth on the road and near a cliff as, like, there's, like, dozens of Invader guys shoot at them, and it's just sick. It's really cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm happy you also share this, because my main thesis going into this first batch of episodes here was, every time Mirrorman, as an actual Mirrorman, shows up on screen, I have to fight the urge in my head to go, "You're better than this." But I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of how I feel every time Mirrorman shows up.
I do feel like it is maybe the weakest part of these episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And probably not helped by the fact that, to be honest, I don't think the kaiju in the show have much sauce, to be honest. I
think Mirrorman looks a little... Mirrorman looks like we have Ultraman at home a little bit. You posting this pilot, I actually like that in the pilot, the bottom half of his mask is just, like, human. I think that actually looks a lot better than just having it... First of all, why... I would not have made him silver. I think you need to make him look more different. It's a different show.
To be fair, it's green and silver. It's not red and silver.
I would have done green and something else.
Do you want the Shin Ultraman Zophie look?
I do get how you get silver though when you have, like, fucking mirror though. It's just, like, you know, it's just unfortunate because Ultraman already uses silver.
Yeah, they needed to do something to make it feel like this wasn't just, like, it feels like, oh, you know, it's like Ultraman again, and, like, I think that does the show a disservice, especially because I think Ultraman's design does actually a very good job of highlighting that this guy is in many ways not human. Like, his power source comes from this alien source that, like, is kind of burdening the human body with like its heavenly mission almost. Whereas Mirrorman, I feel like the human plight is actually a lot more important for this guy. And the imperfection of the human side of this, I feel, is actually very interesting because he has to do the classic like hero thing of like, oh, I don't fit between these two worlds that I belong to. Like this like mirror weird like alien world where my dad came from, and then also like, you know, the human side things from his mother. But then also too, it comes with this weight because we know that this is the second Mirrorman, and the first Mirrorman lost. And you know, this guy's got some issues. He could lose too. And I think that human element actually makes the show feel a lot different from like the Ultra heroes that we've gotten so far. And I wish that was reflected more in the design somehow.
On that point, I kind of like how you have the professor being like a questionable parental figure. In a way, he's just like, oh, Mirrorman, you can't go out. What will happen if you die? While also being like, there are moments where he just lets Kyotaro go and fight himself. Where he's like, well, I need Mirrorman to fight this, but I feel guilty about it because I'm letting my adopted son go fight alone and he could die, kind of thing.
It feels like, I did notice that too, because it feels like the show is very 50-50 on, sometimes he gives pretty good advice, sometimes he's just being a little overbearing, or he's not necessarily being the best like
sometimes
parental figure.
He's just being Gendo a bit.
Yeah.
I feel like they're better contemporaneous mecha dads to their comparisons, but also there's just Gendo was the one I could quickest to my mind.
He's the guy. He's the one you go to.
Yeah. But I like that in some ways the show and this guy's character is him having all these different people and influences in his life, and he's still young and he's going through it right now, kind of a tumultuous time in his life. And as he comes to terms with all this, a lot of the big pivotal moments of these episodes that stand out to me is him deciding, okay, but what am I going to do? Like, what do I personally think is going to be the best thing to do here? And usually it works out for him. I mean, doesn't always work out for everyone else in the episode, but I thought that was like an interesting, like, there's like a coming of age feeling to this in a way too, that like, you know, fucking everyone, Dan Moriboshi's a fucking man. Well, actually, he's certifiably not a man. But, you know, like, Go is a dude. Hayata's a grown-ass dude. This guy kind of feels like, I got some growing up to do yet.
Now, to be fair, I think you still have a bit of Go needs to grow into his role as a hero, obviously. But, like,
yeah,
this probably feels more so, like, Kyotaro feels a bit younger and less experienced, even by Go's standards.
Yeah, Go feels like an adult at a new job. This guy feels like a kid.
Even though I think presumably Kyotaro's like in his 20s.
Go has a normal girlfriend. Episode 8 of this show is just full mother girlfriend time. I
really like
the episode about his mom. Yeah,
the climax of this episode was really good, in my opinion.
Is that the bit when he's on he cries onto the
like he's trapped in a
transform.
pit.
Yes.
Yeah, I was worried about the scene because I was like, the invader shows up with a knife and like gives him. I was like, oh damn, is the knife going to be the thing that makes him be able to transform when they trapped him with no ways of transforming?
It's
that'd be stupid. But then it's the tears. It's like, oh, that's good. Yeah. That's good.
I made this exact same note because it's literally the episode before he transforms. What happens is he throws a knife. And then uses the glint of that knife to transform, and I'm like, okay, maybe he's got it a little bit. This whole Mirrorman thing, maybe it's kind of sick.
Yeah.
But yes, the tears. Also, some earlier in that scene, he goes into that pit looking for his mum. And like she's there, and then he like goes to hug her, and she turns into a log, like it's in Naruto. And I was like, thank you, perfect.
The invaders have learned ninjutsu.
Exactly.
Before we get too far away from it, I do want to say the actual relationship between Kyotaro and Asako. I was like, I think it was specifically the scene where they're all standing outside doing archery, and they're just laughing, having a good time. I'm like, oh, like they can do a normal relationship where people talk to each other and hang out.
Yes.
It's kind of nice. Like I actually like Asuka a little, like quite a bit. She feels like, I feel like they're for the time and considering what we've seen from contemporaneous shows, I feel like they're treating her pretty okay. And yeah, I think they're, you know, every time they're on screen together, I'm like, okay, there's some like chemistry here. They're having fun. It feels like they're hanging out, having a good time.
It'd be a shame if Asuka got called off, but don't worry, I'm sure there's another girl down the hallway in the professor's house.
Yeah.
Also, she keeps wearing this fit with like the rainbow sleeves and these boots, and I'm like, hell yeah, the 70s. It looks good.
Yeah.
There are so many turtlenecks in the show.
Yes.
How do you feel about the other woman, Nomura? Yuki Nomura.
Nothing yet.
She's cool. She doesn't get a ton, but she's cool.
Yeah. I feel like she's got more than Oka.
Okay, I'm clicking around on the Ultraman wiki just because I had it open so I could have these people's names, and I clicked on Yuki just to like see her again. And under personality, it says, and I quote, "While less active than the men," is the very first line.
I will say, at least the glasses guy is the one who stays at home the whole time.
Yeah.
She gets to go out and do stuff. She's nice.
It would now. Here's the other thing about this is that Glasses Guy stays at home because of his character and who he is and what he specializes in. Whereas Oka has to stay at home because she's woman.
Yeah.
Like the time where Gro is grounded and also
Yes.
Oka was also there.
Oka, you will also be staying behind on account of, Goodbye. I think this show kind of handles like there's some good melodrama with because the invaders are really cool and can like slip in and out of walls and can take control of other people's bodies and can also just like do deals with other human beings.
And then you kill them.
And then kill them. We get some cool drama with people that we got a collaborator in episode 10 time stop
10,
episode.
Yes.
And then episode 7 which is great. Episode 7 is great. Has
what was he do episode 7 then?
He's a guy who gets possessed. He hits his fiance. He's like just like his engagement just like almost falling apart. His relationship with his
That's
family.
the one that starts with him fucking eating shit in a boat accident, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Also, this show much bloodier than Ultraman, should be noted.
Yeah.
He but he's like he's got a mission to assassinate some guy, but it's crucially he's not an alien. He hasn't been taken over by an alien. He's just it's just like his body is under control. And so they got they put up an image of this is what a human mind looks like, and this is what an invader's mind looks like. And the invader's brain has got stars in it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic stuff.
I think the sniper one was my favorite. Just
That one
like
is cool.
it's just cool to have like, oh, there's an assassin on the loose, and everyone has to
I just
deal with
remembered
it.
that the sniper episode is also the one with the weird dad stuff of the dad who goes missing.
Yep. Yeah.
And Fujimoto's like, you can't tell a kid about their dad until he's like in his 20s.
Yeah.
That and the Fujimoto. I mean, I would say I liked all these episodes a fair bit from what we saw. The that one and the Fujimoto one where we get his backstory about
That's Murakami.
Murakami episode. Yes,
You can just call him Chief.
Chief. Where the shooting of his partner or whatever, and how he got blamed for it, and now he doesn't like guns was pretty good too.
Yeah.
Those were the two standouts for me.
So the dad, I want to talk about the dad episode because I think there's juice here. There's a reason you mentioned it right up front, Brad, which is there's like this interesting because it's got Fujimoto and Kagami having this back and forth because Kagami is like having encountered this weird dad this weird fuck up dad. Kagami is having feelings about his own dad, having quote unquote abandoned his family. And he's like, well, I do not want to make an idol of, like, he goes through some like fairly well reasoned stuff where it's like, well, no, I don't want my father to be a hero. I want him to be around. Like, I would rather have a dad than a story.
He's like, he wants someone who's like a present parental figure and not just a guy on a pedestal he can think about.
Yes, and I think this is a moment of insight that is I would not necessarily expect from Tsuburaya Productions. I think this is pretty good. And then, but they've got this thing where Fujimoto's like, Kagami takes it a little too far, like in his grief, where he's like, well, you know, I don't even, my dad's dead, so I don't even want to, like, you know, keep a memento of him, really. And Fujimoto's like, well, you keep that pendant. And Kagami's like, no, I don't. I'm getting rid of it right now. It's gone.
Throws it onto his bed.
Yeah. And then he has to use the pendant at the end to get himself out of... He has to save himself. It's a whole thing. He talks to his dad in the mirrored world in like a spectral way. And then at the end of the episode, they have that whole thing where Fujimoto's like, well, now, listen. No, they all decide, they're like, listen, we're going to leave you out of your kid's life until he's old enough to understand why you've made this fucking strange decision you're making. And he sets like a very clear age range on when he'll be able to understand that decision. And I think this is completely deranged, but in that fantastic way we...
Well, is it Fujimoto who says something like, listen, men don't start really thinking about what their dads mean to them or thinking about them as complex human beings until their late 20s. And I'm like,
I think specifically it's something about, and like this bit, I was like, I get where you're, I don't think this is necessarily true, but I get where you're coming from, where he was talking about like, men, you know, you think your dad's like a bizarre human being, until you're like in your late 20s, and then you kind of get him. And I was like, okay, this is incorrect, but I can conceive of the mind that has thought this.
I guess the idea is like it's easier to like accept that your parents are fucked up people when you're an adult versus when you're a kid.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
Getting a little blunt here. I felt like I understood alcoholism and bad spending at 15.
I'm not saying they're correct. I'm just saying that's where the logic is.
Yeah.
Frankly, kids probably smarter than most people give credit for.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because we're all kids at some point.
Also, I feel like this also is advice that is much more directed towards normal dads, which, you know, not part of that camp, so. But.
Yeah.
It is nonetheless bizarre advice.
It is
to be like, just stay, and he'll understand when he's in his 20s, and then you can tell him. And then
now you let the boy play tennis.
For now you let the boy play tennis. He definitely won't feel some weird kind of way about the fact that you've kept this secret from him for like a decade.
I think they show us some cool set pieces. Keeping into account there's episode 2 is an episode we haven't talked much about, but like the thing where the woman is like in the apartment building and like it goes green when all the weird shit happens.
Yeah, the scene where she's suddenly getting like assaulted by weird shit going on in her apartment is fantastic.
The sink turns on.
Well, no, the sink turns. The water won't come out of the sink, and then none of the electricity works, kind of thing.
I think there's a point though where she goes to sit down, and then suddenly the water starts, and then she goes to turn it off, and then
I think it was like she tried to turn it on, while the weird green void was happening, and nothing was coming out, and then she goes and panics and steps down, and then the weirdness stops, and then the thing starts running again.
Yeah, that was it. See, that was the specific scene where I went, okay, like, this is, and I feel like I've been kind of talking about this a little bit in Return of Ultraman because it's been coming up, but like there is an inherent limitation to when you make the monster a big and destructive force. Like sometimes you can miss out on these more personal horrors of like feeling stalked or like cornered in a way. That I think this show is really great about leveraging with the invaders, and I was very happy to see it here.
And the irony is that, like, you know, Ultra 7 is no stranger to kaiju, but there's also plenty of episodes where he just isn't big. And the aliens are just normal size. And like this show being like a successor to Ultra 7 in a lot of ways, it does feel like they don't leverage that as much, even though you do still get sometimes get scenes where like, yeah, Mirrorman is just human size.
He should just be a Kamen Rider. Kamen Rider's airing right now.
That was actually my other, I almost forgot to complete that thought, but I did have that feeling too, where like I wanted to ask if we felt like there's any. I was getting a little bit Shocker vibes from this, and I don't know if the time works out.
My head was thinking that, like, the Invaders is, like, a unified, consistent organization, evil force over the whole show, rather than just, like, each episode's a new guy. Feels a bit more Shocker-esque to me. Even though I haven't, like, seen 71, it's just more like a, you know, just vibes.
I'm gonna bring the red brand. This is some Captain Scarlet shit.
I know it.
These are the fucking Mysterons. They're doing body snatching shit. These are the fucking. I haven't watched UFO, so it might also be UFO stuff. UFO aired in 1970. So it can also obviously be like the Andersons as well. And and also, you know, we haven't seen a Mighty Jack either, and that could also be a part of the equation.
Thinking about the show as a halfway point between Ultra 7 and Return of Ultraman, honestly, is like putting a lot of things into perspective for me. Yeah. It's almost like if you had a more troubled Hideki Go being given Ultra 7 issues to deal with instead of the Return of Ultraman style issues to deal with episodically.
Yeah, I definitely felt that. I did feel like the decision to go for a more Ultra 7 style felt very intentional when there's an Ultraman show airing. Even though that Ultraman show also sometimes is Ultra 7 in it. But yeah, I did feel like they wanted the show to like stand out. I definitely feel like, I guess it's hard to say because we don't have the manga as like to like say, hey, this has been, the bones of this idea has been around for like 3 years before the show airs, so we don't know how much of that, like, how much stuff from like Kamen Rider that feels like seems instrumental to Kamen Rider was just in the manga beforehand. But you know, that would be interesting to see if someone out there online is like at least peeked the manga. But
I do want to, like, is Mirrorman, like, a thing? Like, is this still getting shows and, like...
Oh, yeah, I think I forgot to actually mention that's just, like, the legacy of the show. Which I guess we can get it now.
What is the legacy of Mirrorman?
So, let me just quickly go...
Are there 50,000 of these shows?
Yeah, so, there was, exactly one Mirrorman show, and then there would later be Mirror Fight. And then for the anniversary, in 2012, they'd release with a Mirrorman DVD set, Mirror Fight 2012 with some new stuff. But the main thing is that, like, in the mid-aughts, there was a mini-series / movie called Mirrorman Reflex, which I think is the only other, like, successor within this franchise. I remember I brought it up to you guys as, like, 50-50 on whether we want to do that after this show immediately or let's save it because it's a mid-aughts show. We haven't figured that out. But yeah, that's the only like real main thing, though. I feel like it's also just one of those things where, like, yeah, they'll just reference it in Ultraman stuff in the future down the road.
Okay.
All right, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I got a quote here that I just want to read that I noted down as a quote that's important to read out, but didn't necessarily catch the context of. This is from episode 5, the bird episode. Back to the balls, Kyotaro.
Oh yeah, I also say that one. I think that bird in that episode is my favorite kaiju in the show so far. Which is ironic because it's not actually a kaiju; it's just like a decked out spaceship.
Yeah, it's a big spaceship.
I like the weird Satan bat thing that comes out of the Hellfire, I think, in 2 of these episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I do have the names of the kaiju. But I can get to that later because I did get like the writers, directors, etc., all that stuff.
I mean,
for rapid fire,
I'm not sure about how much later we want to go. Do we have much more to
I
say about
wasn't sure how
Mirrorman?
much we had left.
I don't have anything else to say.
No,
I feel like I
think-
covered everything
yeah.
I came to talk about. It's a good show. I'm liking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having a good time. Looking forward to the rest. I think this is like a good pace to watch it at.
Yeah, this is a good experiment because this is the first time doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Tell us about the kaiju.
Oh, first of all, do you want me to say? I can send the writers and directors so Brad can say the names because I feel weird saying them.
Okay.
Because that's his thing.
If you want.
Don't mind my brainworms.
I recently revealed that in the very first episode of editing Ultra Q, I put my file into Audacity first, and then Brad's file, and then Mel's file, and so I can't edit in any other order now. I have to. It has to go me at the top,
You have to go
Brad in the middle.
You have to go
Mel.
RBM.
Yeah.
So just given the format, I did this in a rapid fire style. We ain't going as in depth as like Ultraman, obviously.
Oh yeah, of course not.
So here.
Okay, so Bunzo Wakatsuki did 1 through 3 and 10. Keisuke Fujikawa, known Macross hater, did 4 and 9.
Known Macross hater.
Hiroyasu Yamaura did 5, 6, 8, and 11. Shigemitsu Taguchi did 5. That's a familiar name. And then Toyohiro Ando did 7 and 12. Ishiro Honda directed episodes 1 and 2. Damn, okay. Toshitsugu Suzuki 3, 4, 9, 10. Yoshiyuki Kuroda did 5, 6, 11, and 12. And Kazuho Mitsuda did 7 and 8. I did not pick up Honda vibes from those first 2 episodes.
If anything,
I'm
like
gonna be honest.
Honda being on this project is what made it go like, oh, that's worth looking into more. Though I feel like people may overstate how much involved he is.
I wonder okay, this is gonna be a little
Also,
mean, but
obligatory known worm colonel or sure Honda.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Known Macross hater, known war criminal.
Anyway, continue, Brad.
Akio Jisoji, known freak.
I almost wonder a little bit if like that is I don't want to say publicity stunt, but I feel like, we got Honda for the first 2 episodes of our thing is like, okay.
The
Like
English
that's a way to get attention,
the
but
English
then
the
he's
English
not going to ever be back.
The English Wikipedia article puts like directed by Ishiro Honda as if like he directed the whole show. I'm like, I don't think that's true.
This is the classic written by Urobuchi thing that every 2010s show was doing. They got him for like 1 or 2 episodes, and they were like, "Hey, this show's written by Urobuchi." They tried that with Bubble. They tried that. They put his name on the fucking marketing. He like glanced at a sci-fi concept one time.
This is the Nomura thing or whatever, where he recently came out. He's like, people keep blaming me for things that it's like, I mean, I was on that project. I didn't write all that stuff they're mad about.
It's funny with Nomura how many things are like people will say there's Nomuraism, but they like this good thing, and they find out that like that thing in particular was the actual only thing Nomura hadn't put on. like when people talk about how like good Crisis Core is ending, it's like, well, yeah, that was Nomura. But yeah, I'll transition to my trivia.
Yeah, go for it.
Special effects director Koichi Takano for all 12 episodes makes my job easy. we catch a glimpse of the invaders' design outside of being creepy humans in episode 10. But
yes, we do. Very briefly.
I do not get any kaiju designer for them. So rip.
Damn.
The first kaiju is Iron. Cool, not at all boring name. Thank you, Mirrorman.
Thank you, Mirrorman.
That's kaiju from episode 1 and episode 8. Designed by Kako Yonatani. Apparently inspired by Pluma, the kaiju from Return of Ultraman, and a no mask. Second, we have Kitty Fire, the Hell Satan kaiju from episode 2 and episode 6. Also designed by Yonatani.
It's called Kitty Fire?
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Apparently had more of a starfish design, but then they guess the name's Kitty Fire, so they made more of a kitty. Episode 3 had a guy I remember from a Redman episode, Darkron.
I recognize that name.
Yeah, I remember you joking about that name in a Redman episode. That's what I remember.
Nice. It's Dark Ron.
Yeah. This one was designed by Shichiro Kobayashi, who you may remember from the Leogon episode of Return of Ultraman. He was a 16-year-old. Apparently Darkron was originally planned to be a Return of Ultraman kaiju, and then he wasn't. Somehow, apparently his design was inspired by King Joe. I don't know what steps he took to get to Darkron after that. But apparently the show's producer, Toyaki Tan, wanted the design to be altered a bit by Yonatani, and that didn't actually happen. So you're just getting the raw Shichiro Kobayashi design of this one. Then we have Multi for episode 4 to 9, who's like a weird cabbage thing that hops like a kangaroo. We get a nice shot of green screen shot of Kyotaro running from it. This one was designed by Noriyoshi Yokeya, who at the time was working on Silver Mask, but the producer brought him back because apparently for this design, Yonatani was struggling a bit. You know what? Much like most of these other designs, this design's kind of fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Then we have Inbera, who was also by Yonatani. This is the plane jet, which I like. Originally it was a bit more of a bird design, but I guess eventually it became more of a fucking ship. As usual, I'll have links to the Kaiju Compendium in the Kaiju Compendium blog in the description. Then we have Gold Satan.
Yo! It's called Gold Satan.
Episode 712, and again a Yonatani design. This one was apparently based very explicitly on the statue from the Oscars.
I would call that Gold Satan.
Yeah. Apparently some of the head designs conceived of were more elaborate, including this fucking Super Saiyan Hask design. But no, they just went for like the most basic one for cost-cutting measures.
That shit Goku.
Also, the episode 12 version has like some diamond gems on it because the episode's about a diamond thief. I don't know why they were stealing diamonds, but it was fun just being like trying to solve the mystery of that.
They were trying to compact matter and use it for something, put it in computers maybe. Yeah,
Kyotaro just hangs out outside their house at the end. It's funny.
He does. He doesn't give him... Well, I suppose he got him back his dad. That's a present.
Yeah. I mean, he did give him gifts at the hospital.
This is true. Oh, yes, he did do that. We're talking about that time Kagami gave a promise to give a gift to a kid on his birthday. And also promised him that his dad would be back from his birthday, which was a very ambitious promise. I wouldn't have promised that.
Yeah.
He did do it, to be fair.
He did do it. I wouldn't have.
He just can't tell him until his late 20s that he made right on his birthday promise.
Yeah.
He's like, listen, your dad's alive, but more importantly, I wasn't lying to you.
What's got to happen is he's got to save the dad and then talk to the dad and be like, now listen, I'm not taking you back home to your family. You've got to stay in hiding until your kid is in his 20s. All right. We interrupted you, Mel.
Yeah. Then we have the Gravity Machine in episode 10. designed by Tetsuo Osawa, who at this point is doing a bit of art stuff for Return of Ultraman. I'll eventually do a bio on him when we get to kaiju stuff in Ultraman Leo, because he's done some kaiju stuff in there.
The thing with this is the one thing from Mirrorman I think fucking owns. I love this giant gravity bomb thing that
I need
stops
to take
time.
a look at it. Oh, yes, this is cool.
Yeah, I like. It turns out, I guess the two machines in the show are my favorite designs.
Yeah.
Gold Satan probably number 3. There's a power gap.
I'm googling Gold Satan again. I'm getting a beer. I'm getting Satan Gold. Of course I am. There's Gold Satan. Man, Gold Satan doesn't look as impressive as his name.
Yeah,
No.
but I do feel like he just stands above a lot of the other kaiju in the show.
Yeah.
Especially the fucking green motherfucker. I hate that. I hate that thing so much. I hate it. I'm like, well, I was like, damn, I should maybe make a kaiju sorter for this one. I have like the pictures collection, but I'm also like, damn.
This shit
mid.
sucks.
Yeah. I'm like, why are all the good designs just in Ultraman? I mean, I guess I know why, because Ultraman's the show, and maybe they're trying to go for something different than... They're going for a different style of creature than Ultraman, but also at the same time, like...
Mirrorman,
you don't
very
have
easy
to choose to be bad.
very easy way to save budget for your high budget show, Mirrorman. Just don't make these shitty kaiju and just have him punch dudes on the street. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have to wonder if it was like the show would sell better as a kaiju show.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Operation Mystery and Mighty Jack did both flop, so...
Yes, it's just Kamen Rider is hitting right now, and it's just like, well, you know, it probably feels a little unfair to Tsuburaya that Kamen Rider's just popping off. It's just like, well, we kind of tried that, maybe.
It'll be interesting when we get to Ultraman Ace, because that's like the first post Kamen Rider Ultraman show.
Nice.
And finally, Xylus is the fire kaiju in episode 11 by Yonatani. I got no trivia on this guy.
Okay.
He's just a guy.
He's just a guy. All right. Well, I think that's probably it for Mirrorman then, unless we have anything like just, you know, last chance. Anything you want to say about Mirrorman? Get in now.
Yeah, I think
It was fun to reflect on.
shut the fuck up. Yeah, I like the show. It's very cool. I do think there's a bit of weird cognitive dissonance I still feel watching it, where it feels like something about it feels off, and it might just be like the kaiju stuff just doesn't hit. That could just be it. It does feel like off-brand Ultraman in a way.
You're not the kind of person who's getting mad thinking about kaiju, and you're getting mad thinking about these kaiju.
Yeah.
It's affecting you.
Yeah, and also, I just like when they go do detective stuff, it's cool. I like that Kotaro's like the most of a guy we've had so far in all of these shows. I mean, I guess Gento's a guy, but you know, that's like modern TV compared to 70s TV. So
Yeah.
Comparing apples to oranges, really. But like Dan and Go are guys, but Kotaro feels like the show is a lot more focused on his interiority and like having an arc with him. So, and like, I mean, there's a degree to which, like, you know, Super Eye does like subtle character writing as opposed to like more overt stuff, but you know, still, it is cool. Just like, oh yeah, Kyotaro's a guy with a conflict as like a through line of the show. Whereas a lot of times, like the conflict of Go is like of the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
But yeah, I think otherwise it's neat, and I look forward to seeing the next stretch of episodes.
Yeah, we've got 13 episodes is the next stretch, and they are going to be in a month. So I don't know what
the next episode we get to watch is called The Flute Playing Witch, and I'm dying to know what the deal is.
So
episode 13 to 25, I guess how the math works.
So yeah, in a month's time we will be recording another one of these. It just sort of depends on when this episode comes out. I don't know when this episode's coming out. We'll see, you know, how I feel this week. It's literally just up to my whim.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. Yeah. And then 13 episodes for next month, and that's it for until the last episode, because it's 13 13 13 now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And this Thursday there's going to be another Ultra Q, about 3 more episodes of the Return of Ultraman. We will have talked about them.
I was going to make a joke, because well, who knows when that episode comes out? It could be Ultraman Ace, but no, that's a little too late for that.
Yeah.
Red really wanted to put off editing the Mirrorman podcast.
Yeah, I just could not be asked. I was just fucking done. I was just like, God damn, get this fucking shit out of here. All right. Well, plugs then. If you want to follow the show, you can do so on Twitter at ultra_Q. That is at ultra_QUEUE. I'm also on Twitter if you want to follow me. That's at gender_redacted. And that's me, Mel.
You can follow me at Dear Crowns on Twitter or Blue Sky. We have an email, ultrapod@gmail.com. Feel free to send us Mirrorman emails, as well as the usual Return of Ultraman stuff. Presumably a few more weeks, specific number depending on when this episode comes out, a Return of Ultraman left. So yeah. And then also we got Ultra Q Fund for coffee, which is presumably to eventually one day fund subtitles or at least acquire media. There's a few stuff to get, but most of it's got. Finding translations is hard.
Mm-hmm.
People translate's hard. Anyway, Brad, you go.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at B_invoked. That's BE_invoked. You can also find my YouTube channel, Canopus Invoke. That's CANOPUS space invoke, which is kind of dead right now. I probably will be dead for a little bit here because I've been busy. So, yeah.
All right. That is the episode. Goodbye. See you Thursday for Ultra Q. Bye for now.
Goodbye.
Later.